Give us Michael, give us Michael, give us Michael, give a smile. Give us Michael, give us Michael, be the reason someone smiles. Give us Michael, give us Michael, give us Michael, give a smile. Give us Michael, give us Michael, be the reason someone smiles. Give us Michael, give us Michael, give us Michael, give a smile. Give us Michael, give us Michael, be the reason someone smile. Give us Michael, give us Michael, give us Michael, give a smile. Give us Michael, give us Michael, be the reason someone smiles. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Desimcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Desimcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Leo, Desimcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, Desimcha. Siva, Gedola, Leo, 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 Desimcha. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles. Be the reason someone smiles.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
Even during times that were incredibly ominous, the Rebbe called on his Chassidim, on everyone really, to stick to their original plans, to remain in Israel and not to flee, assuring us that the Holy Land is the place that God's eyes are upon from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, as the verse assures us.
כי השם יתברך תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. השם יתברך תמיד אוהב אותי ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב. עוד יותר טוב ועוד 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 יותר טוב ותמיד יהיה לי רק טוב.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Elli, Season 8, Episode 209. It is Monday, the 21st day of Tammuz. Now, this is pre-recorded, I'm sorry to say. Our air conditioning is being delivered this morning at 7:15 a.m. And although I thought there might be time to get it all installed and done before, I didn't want to take a chance on missing out a day of teaching you Torah. So here we are, pre-recording. What's going on over here? Nope, that's the one I want. There we go. Yes. So we are pre-recorded today. Recording this on Sunday, but it is Monday. So let's just get going and start our davening, morning davening. Are you ready, men and boys? If you would kindly take your two front tzitzis. Everyone else, please join us in the second bracha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah uvaravo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim galui v'yadua lifnei chisei Chevodecha she'im yisatem echad mehem o im yipateach echad mehem אי אפשר להתקיים אפילו שעה אחת. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אתה בראת, אתה יצרת, אתה נפחת בי, ואתה משמרה בקרבי, ואתה עתיד לתלה ממני ולהחזירה בי לעתיד לבוא. כל זמן שהנשמה בקרבי מודה אני לפניך אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותי ריבון כל המעשים אדון כל הנשמות ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר נשמות לבקרים מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על דברי תורה. הריני מקבל עלי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha kehilas Yaakov, Morasha kehilas Yaakov, Morasha kehilas Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
Oopsie doopsie. We're on the wrong camera. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, there we are. All right, fantastic. Now we're going to give it tzedakah. Here you go. All right, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. And now that we have given tzedakah, let us go on and say the Shema. Take your right hand, place it over your eyes. What is going on here? Oh, I know what's going on. I do. I can fix it. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment to fix it. Set default camera to MacBook Pro default camera. And then I'm going to switch this back to the MacBook Pro camera. All right. And then I'm going to go and select a backdrop. That should fix it. We'll see if it does. All right. Right hand over your eyes. Let's say the Shema and go. Nope, didn't fix it.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
All right, the 12 psukim are up next. Are you ready? Let's sing them.
Final Cut Pro 12.
All right. So I'm going to be having a drink. I'm going to be having a little bit of water, my Fiji water. So I'm going to make a bracha shahakol on my Fiji water instead of coffee this morning, because I had my coffee this morning, being that it's really Sunday, and I'm recording this for you. So, ready? Make a bracha shahakol together. Ready? Baruch atah, I should cover the brand name. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shahakol nehiyah bidvaroi. All right. Today in Jewish history. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Yep, Chaf Aleph, there you are. The 21st day of the month of Tammuz. The Baal Shem of Worms, known as Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem, his name was Eliyahu ben Moshe Lones. He passed away on this day, the 21st day of Tammuz, of the year 5396 from creation. He was a grandson of the famed Stadlin, Jewish activist, Rabbi Yosselman of Roshheim, and the author of Michal Yofi commentary on Ecclesiastics. Today is also the yahrzeit of Theodor Herzl. Born in Hungary to a secular family, as a youth he fell in love with German culture and literature. He felt that the Jews of Europe could shake off their shameful Jewish characteristics and adopt a Central European culture, and then all of their troubles would go away. The sentiment soon changed. After a brief legal career, he dedicated his life to journalism. Herzl believed that anti-Semitism would only disappear when the Jewish people would become a nation like all others with a land, a flag, and a language. He started energetically promoting this idea. In 1897, he convened the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland. In almost prophetic words, summarizing convention, "At Basel, I founded the Jewish state. If I said this out loud today, I would be greeted by universal laughter. But in 5 years, perhaps, and certainly in 50 years, everyone will perceive it." His will stated, "I wish to be buried in the vault beside my father and to lie there till the Jewish people shall take my remains to Israel." In 1949, his remains were taken from Vienna and reinterred at the top of Mount Herzl in Jerusalem, which was named in his memory. How about that? Theodor Herzl. That's how he became a Zionist. Fantastic. From the book Today in Jewish History, which you can get at your local Jewish booksellers. All right. And that's going to take us to laws of the Beis HaMikdash. Very important. During the 3 weeks, we try to learn the laws of the Holy Temple. And here's today's segment.
Welcome to the fourth class on the structure and details of the second Beis HaMikdash. In this class, we're going to learn about the entrances to the Hazara. So there were 7 entrances to the Hazara. There was 1 entrance to the east, 3 entrances to the north, and 3 entrances to the south. Now, each of these entrances had a name. The one to the east is called Shar Nikanor. The 3 to the north start with the Beis HaMoiked, then the Shar HaKarbanis, and then the Shar HaNitzutz. And for the 3 to the south, we have the Shar HaMayim, Shar HaBcheres, and Shar HaDelek. So let's learn about each of these entrances. We're going to begin with the Shar Nikanor, which was the main entrance into the Hazara. And the doors to Shar Nikanor were the only doors in the Beis HaMikdash that were not made out of gold. Rather, they were made out of bronze. And the reason for this is because a special miracle happened with these doors. However, it's explained that even though they were made out of bronze and not gold, they shone like gold. Now we move on to the Beis HaMoiked. And the Beis HaMoiked is the most elaborate of all of these entrances. And it was the most elaborate of all these entrances because it was an entire structure. Now, there's differences of opinion exactly where it was located. Some say it was located entirely inside the area over here, basically outside of the Hazara, and in the area here of the Har Bayis, or the area called otherwise the chel, and others say that half of it was outside and half of it was inside, because half of it was kodesh on the kedusha of the Azara, and half of it only had the kedusha of the Har HaBayis. Now everybody agrees that half of it had the kedusha of the Azara and half of it had the kedusha of the Har HaBayis. However, the question is where exactly it was located, whether the half that had the kedusha of the Azara was in the Azara or whether it too was outside of the Azara. So here we have a diagram of how the Beis HaMikdash looked, and so it says that it was a room that had in it 4 rooms. So let's learn about what each of these rooms were used for. So on the bottom left, which is the southwestern corner, that was the Lishkas HaTchloim, and it's where they kept sheep for their Karbanos Tamid, and there was never less than 6 sheep over here. On the bottom right, which is the southeastern corner, we had the Lishkas s8e Lechem Apanim, and it's where they prepared the Lechem Apanim that was used every week in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Kodesh, on the Shulchan. On the top right corner, which is the northeastern corner, that's where they kept the stones of the Mizbeach that was defiled by the Yevonim. And in the top left corner, we have the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash. So in the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash, there was a winding staircase leading down to a mikveh, and there were candles along the winding staircase. And so if a kohen became tamei during the night, because this is where the kohanim would sleep at night before doing the avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, if a kohen became tamei, he would go down to the mikveh, and then he would come back up and join everyone. And then in the morning, when everyone entered into the Azara to do the avodah, he would slip out and leave the Azara, and then leave the Har HaBayis through the north entrance, which is called Shar Todi. Now in this room, the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash, there was a fire. That's why it was called the Beis HaMikdash, the place where there was a fire. Some say that this fire was used for the kohanim to warm themselves, and others say that the fire was used so that there should always be a fire for the Mizbeach. And in addition, there was a bathroom in this room. Now coming back to the entire Beis HaMikdash itself, so there's a couple more things over here. So here around the sides of the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash, there were these extensions, these protrusions, which were used by the kohanim to sleep on. And in addition, there were doors. These were the doors over here to enter into the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash. And here there was a door to enter into the Azara. Now this door that entered into the Azara, like all other doors, it was 20 amas, 31.5 feet around high, so it's a very big door. And in that door there was a smaller door. And so every morning the Kahanim, they would open up the smaller door, they would enter into the Azara to inspect it. And once they saw that everything was fine, they would come in through the smaller door, they would close it, and then they would open the bigger doors, and the Kahanim would pour into the Azara to begin the avodah of each day. Now over here, somewhere in the Lishkas Beis HaMikdash, there was a tile that had a ring in it, and whoever was in charge of it would lift up the tile, and under the tile there was the key to enter into the Azara. Now let's learn about the other sharim. So here we have the Shar HaKarbonis, and this is the Shar, this is the gate through which they would bring in the Karbonis, specifically the Kodesh Kodashim, because Kodesh Kodashim, it says Shchitasam Bat Tzafin. They were shechted in the Tzafin area, so that's why this entrance was in the Tzafin area. Then after that we have the Shar HaNitzutz. And the Shar HaNitzutz was not just the gateway, but it was actually a structure. And on top of this structure, the young Kahanim that could not yet do the Avodah, they would guard the Beis HaMikdash from there. Some say that it's called Shar HaNitzutz because the sun would shine over there into that structure, and so there was a lot of light in it. And others say it's called Shar HaNitzutz because they would have a fire over here in order to always have a fire available for the Mizbeach. Then let's go down south. We have the Shar HaMayim. So the Shar HaMayim is the Shar, the gate through which they brought in the water for the Nisuch HaMayim. There was a tzleichus of Mayim that they brought in. They brought it in through this Shar, and so that's why it's called Shar HaMayim. Another reason it's called Shar HaMayim is because in the Nevuah of Yecheskel there was water coming out of the Kodesh and going out of the Shar, and it was this Shar, so therefore it's called the Shar HaMayim. This is a Nevuah connected to the Geula. And now this Shar was also like a structure, and on top of it there was a mikvah, as well as the Beis Haftinis, which is where they prepared the Keteiros. So far we spoke about 3 mikvahs, one in the Lishkas HaMitzrayim, which is in the Ezras Noshim, one in the Beis HaMikdash, which was down the winding staircase, and now one over here above the Shar HaMayim. Then we have the Shar HaBecheres, and the reason it's called Shar HaBecheres because the Becheres were Kotshei Kalim, which Shchitason is B'chol Makam Bazara. These are Karbonis that could be shechted anywhere in the Azara, and so they didn't have to bring it in specifically from up north like the Shar HaKarbonis. There's others who say that it's called the Shar HaKarbon, and the reason for that is either because that's the gate where they brought in the carbon Talmud every day, or it's because it's the area through which Avram Avinu brought Yitzchak Avinu when he brought him up as a carbon in Har Moriah. And then finally we have the Shar HaDelik, which means the Shar, the gateway of fuel, and it's called the gateway of fuel because that's where they brought the fuel, the wood, which was the fuel for the Mizbeach. They brought it through this gate, like we learned in a previous class that in this direction over here, in the Ezras Noshim, there was the Lishkas Dera Eitzim where they prepared the wood, and then they would take it out of the entrance of the Ezras Noshim and bring it around and bring it in through here. And with that, we'll end the 4th class.
All right, fantastic. That's going to take us to HaYom Yom for today.
HaYom Yom, thoughts for the day, 21st of Tammuz. The Beis Hamikdash is gone, but we are not gone. We have lost everything, but we are not defined by things. We long for the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash and battle despair in the sense that maybe it'll never happen, God forbid. And we remember that while the physical is destroyed, we are eternal. Who we are is not what we have. What we have is truly forever and can never be destroyed.
Jews are very judgmental people. That's just the way we are. So it doesn't matter where you are on this spectrum of religious observance. This is something that we all do. Every now and then we look at somebody who is less committed than ourselves, and you see that person doing something out of line, and how dare he, right? It's natural. That's just what we do. So today's HaYom Yom points to something very interesting: therapy for the judgmental Jew. Get on a plane and visit the holy city of Yerushalayim. If you've ever been to the Kotel before, to the site of the Beis HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple, then you know that visiting that site can be a very positive, uplifting, and inspiring experience, which is interesting because if you think about it, you are basically looking at a site of complete destruction. The beautiful home for Hashem that was there 2,000 years ago is no more. And there's just bare traces of it that are left. What's going on the Temple Mount at the moment is very different, very foreign to the grandeur and holiness that we know that the temple was. So why is it an uplifting experience? I'll tell you why. Because the destruction that took place on the site of the Beis HaMikdash was a destruction to the structure of the temple. But what makes that mountain, that place so special, what always made it so special, the fact that Hashem's presence rested there, that is true today as well. So while the outer beauty is gone, the inner holiness is still very much intact. And that's why visiting the Kotel is a meaningful and positive, can be a meaningful and positive, inspirational experience even today. It's all about looking past the outer destruction and recognizing and appreciating the inner beauty. Says today's HaYom Yom, if you pay attention to the Torah's instruction, to the Torah's verse that talks about building the temple, then you will understand that the Torah is indicating that there is a miniature sanctuary for Hashem in the heart of every single Jew. Now, sometimes you will notice a Jew that projects destruction. That means when you look at the outer trappings of that Jew, you're not going to see a beautiful temple. You will see a desolate picture. Okay, that may be true, but we have to train ourselves to see past the outer destruction and focus on the inner beauty of that soul, of that neshama. Because just like Hashem's presence continues to reside in spite of the destruction on the Temple Mount, Hashem's presence never leaves the inner heart of a Jew, regardless of how he or she behaves on the exterior. There's a beautiful verse in Shir Hashirim that reads as follows: I am asleep, but my heart is alert. Says the Medrash, I may be asleep from mitzvahs, but my heart is alert for acts of kindness. I may be asleep for charities, but my heart is alert to perform them. So the next time you notice a Jew that looks desolate and destroyed on the outside, remember that it is your job to see past that outer destruction and tap into the inner beauty that is in your fellow Jew and the inner beauty, the inner holiness that is always in you.
All right. That's going to take us to a word from our sponsors. Then we'll learn some Torah. And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidall.com.
PestProRidall.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidall.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565. And order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign at gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Helping lots of people any way we can. Tzedakah is the Jewish way to help your fellow man.
All right. If you would like to help give tzedakah and bring Torah all around the world, now I know you want to give tzedakah, you do it every single day, but if you want it also to count for helping people learn Torah all around the world, all you need to do is scan the handy QR code, scan the handy QR code that you see on your screen, and that will take you to breakfastwithelli.live/support, where you can become a donor and keep Torah flowing. Let's learn. Okay, come on, boys. All right, we are doing the overview to Parshas Matot-Masei. We'll do most of the overview to Matos today. It covers three main subjects: the laws of vows and oaths, the war against Midian, and the settlement of the tribes of Reuven and Gad. Now, the second and third of these fit well into the historical flow of the Torah. The war against Midian is the third and final act in the drama of Israel's confrontation with the Arab Moab-Midian alliance, whose story began in Parshas Balak. The settlement of the two tribes, Reuven and Gad, is the next phase of the conquest of the land of Israel, begun at the end of Parshas Chukas, and continuing through the book of Yehoshua and beyond. So, what then are the laws of vows and oaths doing right here? Now, like the other legal passages of the Torah, we would expect to find these laws in Exodus or Leviticus. So why, in fact, are they here? It must be that these laws have a particular relevance to the subject of conquering and settling the land of Israel. Now, this will be clear when we review the events that preceded the Parsha and which lead into it as follows. As we explained previously, the Jewish people slide into the idolatry of Baal Peor, and their harlotry with the Moabite Midianite women actually began as a misunderstanding of the way they were meant to be involved in the physical world. They knew that their parents' generation had been sentenced to live in the desert for 40 years after the incident of the spies, because they had shunned the challenges of such involvement. Standing at the threshold of the promised land, they were poised to accept this challenge and had resolved not to repeat their parents' errors. They were ready to attack the materiality of the physical world and to infuse it with God consciousness. However, their impetuous enthusiasm led them to err, and they overlooked the need to be cautious. As Chava, Eve, had done with the fruit of the tree of knowledge, they fell into the trap of overestimating their holiness and thinking that their sublime spiritual consciousness and zeal made them invincible and immune to the machinations of evil. They knew that the purpose of life is to make all of reality into a home for Hashem, and they had learned from Yisro's conversion and Bilam's prophecies that in order for this to happen, even the lowest, most anti-holy elements of reality must be elevated into holiness. So they reasoned that they too must experience these dangerous but powerful energies of lust and unholy spirit in order, of course, to elevate them back to their source in holiness. But of course, they were wrong. If one's to throw caution to the wind and risk everything, it should be in the opposite direction, to combat evil, as Pinchas graphically demonstrated. Although we shouldn't shun the challenge of engaging the materiality of this world directly, we must be duly aware of its potential to divert us and corrupt our intentions. So the pertinence of the laws and vows and oaths, because through these laws, a person can set up boundaries for himself where he feels they're needed, as we will explain later on. Now, the next subject of the Parsha, the war with Midian, can now be seen as a logical follow-through after the laws of vows and oaths. The laws are the spiritual correction to the error of Peor, and the battle with Midian is an effort to uproot the source of this error. The settlement of the tribes of Reuben and Gad is also a development from the same theme. These tribes wished to settle in the territory that Moshe had conquered from Sichon and Og, the two giants on the east side of the Jordan River. But Hashem didn't intend for the Jews to settle in this land at this point in history. But the tribes reasoned that the holiness of the land of Israel proper was greater than the land outside of its boundaries. Therefore, it was crucial to elevate the unholy land as well. Their argument was therefore a variation on the same theme as before. As we shall see, however, this time they were partially right, and their understanding is an important lesson for us regarding our relationship to the physical world. We will stop there for today. In the second Aliyah, Moshe was enraged that the Midianite females were spared. They were the primary culprits, the ones who seduced the Israelites and brought about the plague which killed so many, he said. All the males, all the women who possibly could have been involved in the campaign of seduction were killed. The soldiers were instructed how to purify themselves from the ritual impurity that they contracted from contact with corpses in the course of battle. And at this point, we are told how to kosher the food utensils, which were among the spoils. The spoils of war were evenly divided between the soldiers and the greater community. The tithes from the spoils were given to Elazar, the high priest, and to the Levites. The army officers counted the soldiers who returned from battle and determined that not a single man was lost in the war. To show gratitude to Hashem for this miracle, they donated to the tabernacle all the gold jewelry which they personally took from the Midianites. All right, and that is going to bring us to Chumash and Rashi with Rabbi Avtzin. The cleansing, the booty tax, and the second tax. Yeah, you heard that right.
Jewish audio on Chabad.org.
Although the soldiers' behavior was impeccable, some of the young people started looting the booty when the army returned. To stop them, Moshe, Elazar the Kohen, and all the princes of the community went out to meet them outside the camp. When he saw the Midianite woman, Moshe became angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds who had returned from the campaign of war. He said to them, "Did you let the females live? We can recognize them individually. They are the same ones who were involved with the Israelites on Bilam's advice to betray God in the incident of Peor, which resulted in the plague amongst the congregation of Hashem. So now, every male child and every woman who's old enough to have had intercourse with a man must be killed. But you may keep alive all the young girls who are not old enough. We will determine which ones are in which category by having all the women pass in front of the Kohen Gadol's headband. The faces of those mature enough will turn green. And those of you who have been defiled through contact of a corpse during the war, or will kill the captives now, must encamp outside the camp, that is, not enter the courtyard of the tent of meeting for at least 7 days. Specifically, whoever either came in contact with a corpse indirectly through having killed a person with a sword, or some other instrument that transmits defilement, or who touched the corpse directly, shall purify themselves on the 3rd and 7th day from when they begin counting, with the solution made out of red heifer. This applies to both you and any of your captives who have converted. Similarly, all garments, leather articles, and any goat product, including those made of its hair, horns, claws, and bones, and every wooden and metal article that came in contact with a corpse, shall undergo the same purification rites. In Moshe's anger at the army over having left the Midianite woman alive, he mistakenly assumed that purifying the plundered eating utensils from the defilement of having come in contact with a corpse would also purify these utensils from the forbidden food they had absorbed and from the impurity they possessed by virtue of belonging to a non-Jew. Which is, by the way, why we take to mikvah all new items that we buy for our kitchen. So Moshe's nephew, Elazar the Kohen, says to the soldiers returning from battle, "This, the law of purification from defilement through contact with a corpse that Moshe reviewed for you, is the statute that God commanded Moshe, and you must do as he said. But even after you have purified the captured utensil from defilement, you must also purify them from the forbidden food they had, whatever belonged to a non-Jew, through a different process. Metal vessels, the gold, the silver, the copper, the iron, the tin, and the lead. In fact, whatever is used in fire, you shall pass through fire. In other words, whatever you get to cook, the same way it is used, and then it will be purified, which today we do when we take it to kiln. If it is a cooking vessel used with boiling water, you must immerse it with boiling water. If it is used directly over the fire, you must heat it until it turns white hot. This is how a metal utensil releases the forbidden food it has absorbed. You must, however, remove any rust from it first, so nothing interposes between the metal and the cleansing medium. In contrast to metal vessels, earthenware vessels used in fire never release the forbidden fruit they have absorbed, so they cannot be purified. Although the people knew the principles involved in removing forbidden fruit from vessels, and therefore Moshe did not need to mention these laws after the battle of Sichon and Og, Elazar chose to repeat them here because A, Moshe had implied that they were not applicable by not mentioning them. B, Moshe had not overseen the battle, so extra care was necessary to ensure that the soldiers follow all the applicable laws. And C, the Midianites had rusty vessels, so the law applicable in such a case had to be articulated now. But before you purify a metal vessel from a forbidden food it has absorbed, it must be purified with sprinkling water, that is, a solution made with the red heifer to purify it from the defilement. It must be immersed in a mikvah, an ocean, or a flowing river. And whatever vessel is not used in fire does not absorb any forbidden food. Therefore, you need only immerse it in purifying water after purifying it from contact with a corpse. In order to complete the process of purification mentioned by Moshe, you shall immerse yourselves, your garments, in purifying water on the 7th day, after you begin counting, and thus become ritually pure. Only afterwards may you and your garments enter the tent of meeting. Now Hashem talks to Moshe, and he says, "Take account of the plunder of the captive people and animals, you together with Elazar the Kohen and the heads of the paternal house of Israel. And you shall divide the plunder equally between the warriors who went out to battle and the rest of the congregation. The soldiers may keep whatever movable property they captured, however, all for themselves. And you shall levy a tax for God from the half you gave the soldiers who went out to battle, 1 out of every 500 of the people, cattle, donkeys, and the sheep. Take this tax from their half and give it to Elazar the Kohen as a gift to God. From the behalf that was belonging to the rest of Israelites, you shall take 1/50th, not 1 of 500. The cattle, people, donkeys, sheep, animals as a tax, and you shall give it to the Levites, the keepers of the charge of the community, as their representative in the Mishkan." Done. That's what they did. Moshe and Elazar did. The plunder, which was in addition to the movable spoils that the army had pillaged, consisted of 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys. As for the people, the women who were not old enough to have intercourse were 32,000. Miraculously, the tallies were all such that the halves were divisible by 50 and by 500, as Hashem had instructed should be carried out precisely. Hashem's instructions must be carried out precisely, and so the tax could actually be levied from the entire tally. This would not have been possible if the total had not been divided by these numbers. Regarding the half, that was the portion of those who went out to battle. The number of the sheep was 337,500, and the tax to God from the 1 of 500 was 675. 36 cattle, Hashem got 72. 30,500 donkeys, Hashem got 61. 16,000, the tax to God was 32. Moshe gave the tax, which was a gift to God, to Elazar the Kohen, as Hashem had commanded Moshe. We continue with the tax total. As he was commanded, Moshe then took a tax from the half allotted to the Israelites, not to the soldiers, which Moshe had divided for them from the total spoils brought back. Although it had taken time to divide all the plunder in half and levy the tax from the soldiers' half, none of the captives or animals died, nor were there any newborn in the interim. Thus, the community's half also told the same as the soldiers: 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. Thus were the halves of the spoils exactly equal, and the proportion levied from them was precise. Moshe took 1/50th of the half of the Israelites, the people, and the animals, and gave it tax to the Levites. After this, the officers appointed over the army's households, over the army's thousands, the commanders of thousands, and the commanders of hundreds, approached Moshe. They said, "Your servants counted the soldiers who were in our charge, and no soldier had died. We therefore wish to bring an offering to Hashem. Any man who found a gold article of woman's jewelry, an anklet, a bracelet, a ring, an earring, or a chastity belt, to atone for our souls before Hashem, for any lustful thoughts we may have had towards the woman." Moshe and Elazar took all the gold articles from them. The total gift of gold was 16,750 shekel. This was from the commander of the thousands and hundreds. While, as mentioned previously, the soldiers had seized movable spoils for themselves and kept them. Moshe and Elazar, the Kohen, took the gold from the commanders and brought it to the Mishkan as a remembrance of the Israelites before Hashem.
All right, and that takes us to Parsha Points with Rabbi Epstein. Here we go.
Parsha Points, Matot-Masei for Sunday. Doctor, you are sick and must stay in bed for 48 hours. Patient, but doc, it's my daughter's wedding tonight. Herein lies the challenge of leadership. Go by the book or make a daring exception. Moshe knows his time is ending. He's empowering the leaders, and he starts with an odd law, nullifying vows. Now that's where courage is necessary. Doing that's going to certainly make some people unhappy. You know, sticklers for the rules will cry foul and favoritism. Leadership is not synonymous with popularity. Be courageous, not reckless, and lead the people into the promised land by making the difficult choices.
Matot-Masei Sheini. So they return from war with Midian. And Moshe sees them returning, and they only killed out all the male adults. And he sees them returning. Besides all the spoils, they have captives, including women. So Moshe says, "Hein heino hoyu." In Pasuk Tezvav, Tezayin, they were the cause of the problem to begin with, of why you went to war, why you leave them alive. So the Gemara says, because Moshe got angry, he ended up forgetting the halacha that we're going to have in a few psukim. But in the meanwhile, he told them that any girl who's of age, who's roy lebiyah, the Gemara says it's 3 and up, but they didn't know everyone's age. So they passed all the girls in front of the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol, and if a girl was roy lebiyah, her face turned a greenish color, and they killed her. And if not, they were allowed to keep them alive as captives and slaves. Then, before they would go back into the Machane, it doesn't mean the Machane Yisrael, it means the Machane Shechina, because they were in war, they were Tammuz. You remember from Parshas Chukas, even though over there we learned that a goy is not metama ba'oil, under the same roof, but b'maga, Tumas Maga, when someone comes in contact, even if it's a goy with the dead, he's Tammuz, and he needs to be spritzed with the Paraduma on day 3 and day 7. So he's not allowed into the Machane Shechina before that. So Moshe warns them. But the chiddush of this parsha is that even with a weapon, as long as there's a chibur in it, from the weapon, that's extension from your hand into the body, in the corpse, let's say you're pulling out the sword, so the Gemara says the cherev is kecholol, it's like the corpse itself, and the person's tamei meis. Then Elazar is going to say now the halacha that Moshe forgot about the gi'ulei kelim. So it's really broken down into 2 different halachas. One that's still we're noyeg today, and a lot of Rishonim holds the Raisa. Any kli that's owned or made by a goy that comes into the rishus of a yid, it needs to be toivled. This applies to the 6 metals listed in the pasuk of zov, kesef, nechayshis, gets gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, and lead. But then the gi'ulei kelim, that's for the used kelim that they took from the Midyanim. If it was used with dry heat, let's say in fire, so the only way to get out all the treif that was swallowed up into the metal is through fire. It has to be burnt out, and if it was through cooking, in other words moisture, so it has to be dumped into boiling hot water, and that gets out. Chacham understood that metal expands in heat. Then we're going to have all the booty. What do they do with all the spoils of war? So if you look at them, there's a lot of numbers over here. They're astronomical. Hashem told Moshe to split everything. Half of it is going to go to the 12,000 soldiers that went to war. The other half is going to go to Klal Yisrael.
of the half that goes to the soldiers, they take 1/500 of everything, and Hashem says, give it to Elazar HaKohen. Of the other half that went to Klal Yisrael, they take 1/50th of everything, and that goes to Shevet Levi. And that takes us in to right before Shlishi, the Sarei Halofim and the Sarei Meis, those were the generals over the thousands. There were 12,000 people, so you had 12. And the Sarei Meis, each one was appointed over 100, so you had 120. So 120, 12, you had 132 people that when they took all the tachshitim, all the earrings and bracelets and so on from the women that were made of gold and they were very pricey, a lot of times they had to be alone with a woman in the house, and she had jewelry in private places. The Torah is made that not one of them did an Aveiro, but they were afraid that they had a her Aveiro, so they gave all the gold from the jewelry to as a carbon Hashem to be mechaper for the her. So the Torah says how much it was. It was 16,750 shekel HaKodesh. That translates into pounds, 837 pounds of gold, just from these 132 people. So you can imagine how much the 12,000 got. And that takes us till Shlishi.
All right. We're a little ahead of time today, so we have time for our Parsha song. I love our Parsha song. Except we're stuck here.
My first year in camp was so much fun. I learned how to swim to stay out of the sun. My trunk is much easier to pick off the ground. I left half of my clothes in the lost and found. Whistle Willie watches the pool perfectly. He lets us go swimming, even that bumblebee. My bat still has his problems, he just can't take perfect aim. He'd much rather play my computer game. The mic is working, it screams so loud. We walk around with earaches, even the cloud. I've written so many letters, I have to buy more stamps. I've eaten so much food, I'm going home with cramps. We have traveled through the parshios of Bamidbar. In this very short time, we've traveled very far. Eretz Yisrael is the next stop along the way. Let's listen to how it happened in the Parsha of Masei. B'nai Yisrael's travels, you will hear about all of
I absolutely love it. Okay. Let's go now to Tehillim, chapters 23 and 125. Where is it? Here we go.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי, לא אחסר, בינוס תשע, ירביצני, על מי מנוחוס ינהלני, נפשי שובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו, גם כי לך בגיא צלמובס, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי, תשענת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני, כל ימי חיי ושבתי בביס אדוני לאורך ימים.
שיר המעלות הבטחים באדוני כי ארצי אלוהים עד לעולם ישב ירושלים הארץ סביב לו ואדוני סביב לעמוד ויחדו ביד עולם כי לא ינוח שבט הרשע על גורל הצדיקים למען לא ישלחו הצדיקים באפלוס ידיהם היטיבו אדוני לטובים ולישרים בליבו יצום והמשהו מקום כלו יצום ירליכם אדוני יספויה ליאהב שלום על ישראל.
All right, we're learning Pirkei Avos from the beginning again. We are in chapter 1. Let's go.
Our next Mishnah in our study of Pirkei Avot is chapter 1, Mishnah 2. In the Green Siddur, it's on page 524, and in the Koren NCSY Tribe Siddur on page 748 is the text of the Mishnah. I'm going to read it with Rabbi Sachs's translation. The Mishnah reads as follows: Shimon HaTzadik haya mishyarei Knesset Hagdolah. Shimon HaTzadik, Shimon the Just, was one of the last survivors of the men of the Great Assembly, that group that we spoke about when explaining our previous Mishnah. Hu haya omer, he would often say, Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed, on three things the world stands. Al HaTorah, V'al HaAvodah, V'al Gemilut Chasadim. On the Torah, on the worship of God, and on acts of loving kindness. Now Shimon HaTzadik was a fascinating figure. The Talmud tells of his righteousness, but also of the profound effect he had on political leaders as well, in terms of promoting peace and respect for the Jewish people. Here he defines three things on which he says the world stands. And this is a fascinating group that goes together: Torah, service of God, perhaps that's prayer, and loving kindness. And in fact, those three things are at the heart of what the United Synagogue is. When the United Synagogue was founded in 1870, called in Hebrew Kehillah Kadosha Knesset Yisrael, a holy congregation, the gathering of Israel, its religious philosophy was based in no small measure upon providing for those things for the public: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. And if you read Rabbi Sachs's book, Community of Faith, you'll find out far more about this, I think, fascinating historical topic. But why did Shimon HaTzadik pick these three particular items: Torah, divine worship and service, mitzvot in general, and particularly loving kindness?
there is, I think, a very poignant story which really sums up the significance of these three together. It's told about the famous 18th century Rabbi Yechezkel Landau, who was one of the great rabbis of his time and one of the rabbis of Prague. Rabbi Landau was trying to increase acts of chesed, acts of kindness in his community, but he did not meet with great success, unfortunately. So one day he closed his books in his yeshiva, perhaps even closed up the yeshiva itself, not, I suppose, in a dissimilar way from how shuls are closed in lockdown, although of course for very different reasons, and started walking in the street. People were surprised to see the rabbi at that time of the day walking in the street when he should have been in the yeshiva and the study hall learning. So a number of people said, "Rabbi, what are you doing here? Why are you not where you should be?" And the rabbi said, "Our world is like a table that stands on three legs. If you take away one of the legs from the table will fall. Similarly, our world stands on Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. At the moment," he said, "in our place, we have two of those legs remaining. But the third one, the acts of loving kindness, that leg is really rickety. It's not really there anymore. Until it's restored, how can I teach Torah in the yeshiva? The table only has two legs. It's not going to stand up properly." And with those words, Rabbi Landau managed to persuade the people who he needed to persuade about the importance of the acts of kindness which he was asking them to do. Of course, as this video is recorded, we are in the second lockdown and our shuls are closed. But I hope we can find as many opportunities as possible to have our own prayer and our own mitzvah observance wherever we are, but certainly to really increase acts of loving kindness along with Torah study. And please God, we and all of the world will see blessing from that.
All right. Tanya for the day.
Tanya thoughts for the 21st of Tammuz. A story told to me by the participant, a school teacher in the New York City public schools in the 1970s. He had one student who was just so unruly. He had at his wit's end. He went to the vice principal, a man who hadn't been in the classroom in 30 years. And he said, "What do I do?" And the vice principal echoed the thoughts of that time. "Oh, you must listen to the child. Oh, you must understand him."
No, it's not impossible that ever say, just study Rambam each and every day. I'll never miss my daily Rambam. My Rebbe so desires, I'm not busy or too tired. When I learn Rambam's connected, I remain, I am Elli in the Rebbe's golden chain.
Are you ready? Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam, class number 154.
Yesterday we concluded with some mitzvahs governing when entrance to the temple grounds is permitted and when it is prohibited, and we continue on this theme today. Negative mitzvah number 68 states that every Kohen, including the high priest, has certain parts of the holy temple grounds which he's not allowed into just at any time. It has to be a time when the divine service demands it. Any Kohen may not enter the inner sanctuary at any time, and the high priest may not enter the Holy of Holies at any time except on Yom Kippur. Negative mitzvah number 165 is that Kohanim may not leave the temple grounds while in the midst of a divine service. Positive mitzvah number 31 is that we are commanded to send out all those that are ritually impure from the temple grounds. Negative mitzvah 77 is that all those that are ritually impure may not enter the inner sanctuary, which means the inner courtyard as well as the actual temple complex. Negative mitzvah number 78 is that many of those that are ritually impure are not only forbidden from entering the actual temple complex, but are also forbidden from entering the temple mount, the Har Habayis.
גואלנו, והוא גואלנו, והוא גואלנו, משיח צדקנו. הרבי מלובביץ' מלך המשיח, הרבי מלובביץ'.
Hashem created 50 gates of understanding. He gave all of them to Moshe except for one. As it says, you have made him a little lower than God. The 50th gate of understanding will be given to Mashiach, and he will reveal it in the time to come. Now, the Rambam rules that Mashiach will only be near to Moshe in prophecy. In wisdom, however, he will exceed Moshe. This, to a degree, is true about each and every one of us. Every time we exert ourselves to study Torah and know Hashem, our effort produces an insight that was never revealed before. In other words, the exile's challenges also present a unique opportunity. Since we have to work harder than previous generations, we also have the ability to reveal the Torah's secrets, and that is Torah's HaMashiach, the Torah of Mashiach. May he come speedily in our days. Today would be nice. Here's Shmuel Tzvi.
Hashem wants us to act according to his will. Yes, it's important to think according to his will, to feel according to his will, but we gotta also, most important is our actions. A person could think about giving charity all day long and all the deep Torah secrets of charity, but then the person who's hungry comes to him and he doesn't give him. Or a person can not even think about it and then give the person who's hungry, and he did the actual mitzvah. It's true, if you're doing a mitzvah, it's even greater when you think about the depth and the holiness of the mitzvah you're doing, and you have the right focus when you do it, is even greater. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to actually do the mitzvah. Obviously, when you're already doing it, it's infinitely better to think deeply about it, but our thoughts have to lead to action.
Mashiach's waiting at the door, so let us greet him and come back home, finally home in the place where we belong. It's been so long that we've been gone, so lost and alone, scattered all across the globe. But now that we are back again, we beg you, please resume your throne. We're finally home.
All right. The ancients looked up at the heavens and gazed at the stars and their constellations. They honored them as stewards of divine energy and life, as the embodiment of all forces of nature and the origin of human passions. They were wise, but they were fools. They abandoned the master for the servant. In truth, there is only one, and all else is but a tool in his hand. Now, modern man, he looks up to the headlines of the finance page and sees there all the forces that will make or break his career, his retirement plans, and his success as a human being. He too is a fool. For in truth, there's only one, and all else is but a tool in his hand. I love that. You want to talk more about that? Come to me at any of the Actors Rabbi social groups, social media, at Blue Sky, Clubhouse, Discord, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, or YouTube. Or you can email me at theactorsrabbi@gmail.com, or go to theactorsrabbi.com and sign up for life coaching services, or go to breakfastwithelli.live/ mail and get our email list, get Matot-Masei sent to you, Shabbos with Elli. Sorry. Or go to breakfastwithelli.live/swag, and you too can be holding a Breakfast with Elli coffee mug. I know. Oh, I wanted him on my shoulder. That's what I was going to do. I'm going to do it right over here. He's going to be right on my shoulder. No, you can't see him over there. I'm going to put him right here. Okay. There he is. Sitting on my shoulder. A little angel on my shoulder. You like that? All right. Let's make an after bracha.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesronan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim.
All right. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Pespro Riddle, Tarzane Orchids, Dina D Design, Bracha Biederman, Reza Musavi, Wendy Cohen, Julie Haber, David Webman, and our 2 anonymous donors. You can become a donor by going to breakfastwithelli.live/support, scanning the QR code that you see on your screen, or going to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi and join us today in bringing Torah all around the world. All right. It is the 21st day of Tammuz. Please go out and do something nice, something good for someone today. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow, Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, and Hashem will draw you close to him. Shmulik Sukkos is here today with Tedaber Itanu, speak with us. It's a brand new video. I don't know what it's about. Enjoy it. It's good. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow, Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow, Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Be the reason someone smiles. And we will see you back here tomorrow live on Breakfast with Elli, hopefully with our brand new air conditioning, which would be very, very, very nice. Okay, see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Love you lots. Be the reason someone smiles.
שבור לרסיס